All right. Well, thanks everyone. Got another exciting LeagueDAO community call slash AMA. We've been busy as always, and a lot of exciting things happening behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, on the camera, however you want to say it, for LeagueDAO as we inch closer towards the beginning of football season. September 8th is the first NFL game this year. So mark your calendars, September 8th. And there's going to be a lot of exciting stuff that we're going to be launching in advance of that. And September 8th is going to be a fun one to just kind of see all of it realized and everyone tuning in and tracking their players and being a part of the LeagueDAO inaugural Mega League this fall. So I'll dive into just the project updates and what's going on the dev side of things. We have a lot making really good progress on all of the core kind of components and sort of we kind of we talked about the Mega League in three pieces. There's the actual draft, the actual like fantasy league app where you're managing your roster by staking and unstaking players, like moving guys from your bench to your lineup, where you're researching players and looking up stats and data, where you're doing your research on your upcoming matchups to see the teams and the players on the other teams you're competing against in your division. You're also checking the leaderboard to see where you are, not just in your division, but also your ranking in the entire mega league itself. And then also where the actual, head-to-head competitions are taking place. And, you can go and view to see how your team's performing during the week. So there's that, which is the main app. Then there's the draft application, which where each division will have its own snake draft. And so, building out the mechanisms to be able to do some draft research, also hedge and play the mini game of, do I buy more league tokens to move up a spot in the draft order? Seeing where you are in the draft order and playing that game in advance of the draft. Um, so that's getting built. And then we also have the marketplace, which is the third piece where you go and can either propose peer-to-peer trades of players with other teams in your division, or bid on free agents and pick up, add free agents to your team. So there are those three big components, but then there's also kind of this like these stages of the actual like user experience and flow, which is another way to think about it, where you kind of start with like minting the league pass, then you have your registering, getting assigned a division, then you have your player draft, then you're actually staking your players, and then you have the head-to-head games, and then you have the reward, claiming your rewards at the end of the week and then at the end of the season. So we have all our devs focusing on this, digging in, building each of these components. Over the past week, we wrapped up, finalized a lot of the contracts for the playoffs, because each division is going to have a 2-week head-to-head playoff of the top 4 teams are going to compete in that playoff. And then also the Mega League contract, which is the taking the division champions, the 10 teams with the highest total combined score for the season will also be eligible for the Mega League prize at the end of the season. So we have these 3 different levels of prizes, 3 different levels of different game models, but also each one is sort of a separate smart contract. So we've got all that teed up, as we've talked about on past calls. Next, we have the date locked for all the contracts to go out to our auditor of July 4th. And so we're on track for that, which is going to be key, because we want to deliver basically all the contracts together, as opposed to sending them like one component at a time and having, then we have to change one thing and it impacts the other. So it's a big undertaking, having all of the teams kind of coordinating and aligning all of our dev efforts so that we're hitting our milestones in unison. And then we also continue to make updates and advances in terms of our front end and adding, the main all the main components are up on the staging site, and now we're connecting the back end and the contracts to the front end. That's going to be maybe the biggest undertaking that we have left that takes us all the way through to the season, because there's a lot of data points that we're pulling and putting and displaying, because we didn't want this to just be, oh, here's where you go to play your game. We wanted to make sure that, in line with a lot of fantasy sports like users' expectations with fantasy platforms, is there's also like a player research page where you can go and look up stats and do all of your nerding out and digging in to optimize your team. So that is all going to be a part of that. And we're really excited about how all that's coming together. Looks great. So that's like on the dev end. We'll be sending out a newsletter pretty soon that has a bit more of like a detailed kind of dev update for those that are interested and want to see kind of some of the components of the build. So there's that. On the larger kind of like LeagueDAO, just like partnerships, growth side, marketing side. We're fine tuning the division sponsor program. So what that is, when anytime we have basically whenever like 12 new people sign up for the Mega League, they're automatically assigned to a division. So these divisions, we built them in a way where you can, they can have like their own name and identity. That kind of touches more on the long-term vision of allowing user-generated fantasy leagues. So like, a group of 12 people creating their own league using the LeagueDAO protocol and our front end and UI. But for this time around, we didn't really want to open it up for anyone to go and like change the names of like divisions and the images, because there's no like the division owner or like the league owner is a LeagueDAO, right? Because that's sort of how the Mega League is working. So what that means, that opened up an opportunity for us that we saw, and really it's taking inspiration from what we've been really impressed with and seeing with that the Seekers have done, which is creating this sort of very simple like partnership model where each division we're going to brand with a different product or a different community, and that opens the door for us to then create like mint like specific like division POAPs. So right, like if you're in the Universe DAO division, there'll be like a special image, which is going to be, it's like a 3D football that's going to have the Universe logo on it, and I mean a football helmet, 3D football helmet, and then we can mint these POAPs. So all 12 team owners that are in the Universe division can claim that POAP, and then that opens the door. So then if Universe wanted to, let's say, like airdrop polymorphs to each of the division team owners in their division, they can do that, right? Like, so it's going to open up these like additional incentives and kind of like community engagement opportunities, but it also creates a very simple and scalable mechanism for building word of mouth and getting more people talking about LeagueDAO. So our goal is to have a large number of division sponsors because it doesn't cost them anything. It's totally manageable for us. But we're going to have a lot of divisions because, right, there's one division for every 12 people participating in the Mega League. So I think the scale of this is going to be pretty massive, and I think it's also going to be really, really beneficial to LeagueDAO and the Mega League as a whole in terms of just like spreading the word, getting more people to find out about what we're building, what we're doing here, and all happening at the right time. So really excited about that. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I mean, that the whole like 3D, the POAP element also opens the door for something we've been talking about, which is like then creating more of the like experience rewards or like participation rewards and gamifying people that are really like engaged. And whether you're making trades or you're just like managing your roster, I think we can do that in a way where we're incentivizing people that are actually like using and playing and being a part of this, but doing it in a way that actually kind of brings more value to people as opposed to just putting like a star next to your name. So these types of co-ops are what we've been brainstorming is, it could be something where like it's like an achievement unlocks, you get this NFT, but the NFT is actually like a 3D jersey, and then you can exchange that jersey for like the real world, like LeagueDAO football jersey, like merchandise, stuff like that. So that's something that we're working on and talking about with our good friends at DGen Supply. And that's why, going back to like why we wanted to partner with them in the first place, is having that kind of like IRL layer that is already thinking about and working on how you can connect the kind of like tokenomics and token side with IRL merchandise. That's what we want. So that is really exciting. And I'm stoked to move that forward, especially seeing the quality of like the LeagueDAO hats and just the first run of merch. I'm a big fan of my LeagueDAO hats, so we want to keep making more. And there's just so much cool stuff that we can do, like the division champions. I mean, you could do a trophy. We could also do like Letterman jackets, like some really sick stuff. So I think there's a lot of opportunities there for us that we can play with over the course of the summer and the season. Okay, that was a lot. Is there anyone else want to add anything? As it was just me talking.
No, that's how it feels like sometimes in these, just because everybody's anon and like writes questions. But I think the real thing right now would be, would some of the community want to like write questions specifically about that?
And then I don't know if you also want to just touch on the new proposal that's in warm up right now for adding treasury funds to the
Oh yeah,
liquidity pool.
wow! I buried the lead. So also, and definitely not least, we pushed or deployed the DAO proposal or DAO vote, which is the next step moving forward with the discussion around taking the ETH that is sitting in the DAO treasury right now, withdrawing that ETH, converting it to USDC, and then depositing that USDC and an equivalent amount of League tokens into the liquidity pool to then block some of the liquidity incentives and have those go back to the DAO treasury. And the like flywheel component to this and what sort of brings it full circle is that will then fund the league tokens we need to then use to create the liquidity pools and create liquidity on Polygon, which is needed given all the utility for the league token that we have with the Mega League since it's on Polygon. So this is a part of like a larger strategy to create a more sustainable model for opening up liquidity on the layer 2 as a so it's currently in warm up, and warm up ends tomorrow. We'll keep everyone updated on this, but if you have your league staked in the DAO, please vote. This is actually our first like official like on-chain DAO vote, so we definitely want it to pass. And I'm excited for it. I think what I think is really cool about this proposal is it started like if you go to the forum thread, it started with like proposed one idea, which was a slight variation on this, and then different people from the community. Shout out to Ve Victus for really taking an active role in this thread and this one and bringing ideas. But the idea evolved based on the conversation in the forum into what the proposal that's being put up for a vote right now. It wasn't just me saying we're going to do this, you guys can like ask questions or put in comments, but we're not going to change it. Like we're actually listening to and like making changes and improvements based on the feedback from the community. So that's like take that with whatever you want, but I'm pretty stoked about that because I think that's that's the type of trend and like foundation we want to be setting at LeagueDAO. So yeah, we'll be sharing the link and keeping everyone updated on that. But please vote if you can. I think you had to have already staked your league in the DAO in order to be able to vote. All right, so I'll jump into some of the AMA questions because there's some good ones on here. So Victus asks the question of can anyone join like a sponsored league, like Mega League division, or do you have to be invited to join the division? So the sponsor divisions doesn't change how the actual like divisions get populated in that structure. So divisions will still just be a random selection of 12 teams in the Mega League. The only difference is that the name of the division will be the Barn Bridge division, right? Or and the logo and like icon for that will be like the football helmet with the Barn Bridge logo. But that like who ends up like nobody's gating it or like controlling which team owners end up in that division. Um, and then there's the question from Elon Saylor regarding crypto fantasy. So, what's the plan for crypto fantasy season 2? The main question regards the prize pool. Unlike the Nomo leagues, where the prize pool was kept intact by the DeFi like staking mechanism, for crypto fantasy, the funds were withdrawn over the course of the season and paid out to winners. So what's going to happen with prizes for season 2? So there's 2 parts to answer this question. The first part is based on everything that we've done and like the resources that we have, larger market conditions, and just like the team itself, we had to focus our resources on the Mega League, right? That is really the priority for LeagueDAO, and it's such a massive product that it just was not feasible to build out the Mega League and Crypto Fantasy version 2. And based on the data that we got from Crypto Fantasy version 1, we also didn't want to just release another version of Crypto Fantasy that was the same exact product without addressing some of the larger concerns regarding the actual like user experience. So what we decided was to put a pause on Crypto Fantasy version 2 and instead focus on the Mega League. Now that's part 1. So right now, like we're not going to be deploying Crypto Fantasy version 2 in its sort of like truest form as of today. Now, what we are doing, because we want to make sure that the Crypto Fantasy team owners and minters aren't getting, stuck or don't feel rejected by LeagueDAO. One, this is only temporary, and it's not like we're not just like permanently pausing on crypto fantasy because it's a protocol that LeagueDAO owns, and we want to continue to build that out and utilize it. But in the short term, what we're going to do is give the crypto fantasy minters free league pass. So to make you guys whole. Now that's our current plan. That could change, but I think the big thing is that we just didn't want to put ourselves in a position where we were building 2 different products at the same time and potentially getting into a place where we have like neither one is up to the standard we want to be setting. And we also know, given like larger market conditions, it makes sense for us to like consolidate, focus everyone in on like the Mega League, and prove that that's a success, use that to prove product market fit. And then that also ties into like our continued partnerships and like growth of LeagueDAO, and that will open up the door for us to then put more resources into these other like game models like crypto fantasy. So that's where we are today.
Brandon was asking about the lineup structure, and I just linked the Mega League roster settings forum post because we were talking about that a bit. So if anyone has ideas or wants to weigh in on that end regarding lineups and just roster settings in general, definitely would be good to get more feedback on that end. I'll bring you up right now, Victus.
Yeah, I will contextualize that with currently what we've been discussing especially after the last week's AMA and the feedback that was shared in that. We have been discussing for this initial Mega League, removing defensive players from the team structure, just because of concerns that there are a lot of people who really have not played like fantasy with individual defensive players before. Now we can do that without while so basically if you think of it like the Genesis players and the Genesis League, or the version 1, which is what we're calling player farming. That is effectively just the same game as Nomo Football version 1, where it's that ultimate keeper league, and we can keep that happening through how we've like built out or are building up the like player farming side, where basically if you have a defensive player that you minted as a Genesis player token, you can still stake that player and earn rewards based on how that player performs. It's kind of its own separate game in a way, but but what you won't in that case will also you won't get a piece of rewards generated by the players in the Mega League or like the second generation player tokens. But so it's not like defensive players lose all of their utility. The defensive like Genesis tokens lose all of their utility right off the bat. And over time we can, especially as we open it up so that more people can actually like different communities and different groups can launch their own league on the protocol, then we can make it so they can choose to include individual defensive players or not. But in the spirit of like really just focusing on like a fun game experience for a broad pool of people, we agree that having individual defensive players on the rosters just doesn't it doesn't help us.
Just a quick question. For people that may own or have more than one wallet, I'll use Tyler or pick on him as an example. Say he's got two wallets holding crypto fantasy teams and is issued League Pass, and he gets League Passes to the same division. Does he have an opportunity to choose which division? Say he wants to be in maybe a Barn Bridge team and then another team being in a universe team, so that they're not competing against each other. Is that an option for him, or is he basically stuck with the division that he's assigned to, and he'll just have to separately sign up for the universe team or something like that?
Yeah, so because technically, like you're not actually like you're not picking which division you're joining, and it is randomized. And because of like we recognize that there is this potential, and we are thinking about that in terms of how and when we actually do the that random is like assignment to divisions. So to avoid like people gaming it by, let's say, you know depositing or like redeeming 2 league passes at the same time, right? Like even if it's with different wallets. But effectively, it's not something that we have a mechanism to be able to like manually alter.
Okay, I got it. So it is still going to be possible that you would kind of compete against yourself. So if someone did have 2 separate wallets and just was in the same division, you sort of be competing against yourself, so to speak.
Yeah, that it's definitely something we want to avoid. But there there just isn't a good way for us to like address that without losing the like decentralization.
Got it. Thank you.
I'll just take this second real quick to let you guys know you can claim a POAP for today's AMA in the POAP claim channel. I'll link it in the AMA questions chat. And the code is just Mega League, one word, all lowercase, just like that, how I sent it in the AMA questions channel. Oh yeah, and you will need to actually claim it. In case you didn't know, you just have to click on the actual POAP bot itself and then message the POAP bot or by DM. So you will have to turn on your go to the privacy settings and turn on allow direct messages from server members for the time being, and then you could switch it off after, but you will need that on in order to receive the link back.
We have to look to see if they have if POAP has created a mechanism where you can claim without having to use the bot. Like, and I just bring that up like just because I know we're like a lot of us here are pretty skeptical of opening up DMs. I know that like open it and then close it after you claim the POAP, but let's see.
Yeah, there's a few different ways to disperse them. But yeah, I can play around with some different methods next time, so we don't have to do it this way. Some of them are just easier to like for bots to farm. This is one of the better methods for like so people don't just mint it and don't actually attend. But yeah, I'll look into that further. Cool. Does anyone have any other questions regarding anything?
All right. Well, or actually, looks like
Okay, let me bring Algae up.
Oh, I was muted. Can you guys hear me though?
yes, we can.
Okay. Whenever I do this, I have to like put my phone up to my ear to hear you guys. Wait. So you guys were talking about how like the Mega League is structured to where it's possible for people to land together, like two different wallets in the same league. I'm interested to learn more now about like how the trading works to prevent like a situation where someone could exploit this. For some reason, I can't hear you guys though. Hold on. Let me switch to my computer.
think, Benji, if you can also bring Voro back up. I think he
Yeah,
can
I
also.
just did.
Sometimes I just lose the connection. Let me wait for Algie to go ahead and get on his laptop. Because we have a couple ways.
But these are great questions because this is like gets to kind of like some of the core game theory, and this is I think also just like such a big part of building dApps and like Web3 games is you have to think long term about this, like, and how things might be able to be manipulated.
Yup. Where is he? Algie, raise your hand if you're okay. He's on the laptop. Bring him back up, Benji.
Got it. Should be all good now. Um,
Okay. Well,
Cool.
in either case,
Yo,
we've got a couple ways that we're working through to go ahead and make it so that you can't, or it's harder to game it. In some ways, it's always like a present fear, but there's ways to go ahead and say like, well, we've randomized and shuffled you up in the leagues so that you can't possibly be with a bunch of addresses that can collude and get to the Mega League rewards easily. And not only that, every trade goes through a period where you can kind of challenge the trade if you're in the division. Just kind of like how you would have like league members kind of vote on whether these trades like have an outsized effect on the game and there's clear collusion. And beyond that, we have other ways that we can go ahead and assign a commissioner that can override a trade. We're kind of still playing around with that, but
I mean, the commissioner at this point is going to be LeagueDAO. For the simplest point of view, maybe that's something that maybe if we wanted to, we could do like a community kind of like vote in, sort of like a commissioner board or working group, if you will. But to like elaborate a little more on the trading mechanism, so we're adding in this component where after like a trade has been agreed to by both parties, there is a challenge period where if nobody like challenges it, then the trade goes through. But if a majority of the other teams in the division challenge the trade, then it is vetoed. So it's also, we're not leaving it to only one person can like disrupt and like veto the trade. But and it doesn't need, the trade doesn't need to be approved by everyone. It just, there's just this window to ensure this kind of like competitive balance.
Yes. Yeah, I like the idea of the whole Mega League thing. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I think that like it doesn't seem like it will be that hard to take care of it, but yeah, I just wanted to hear y'all's thoughts on it because I figured that that would be like something y'all were thinking about, considering that you probably had already thought about that multiple wallets could join from the same person.
Yeah, that's, it's like I said, I think the big thing is they're looking at like the structure of how we're assigning teams to the divisions and how that randomization works to ensure that they're like, I think that it's like getting to it at the source is the best way to approach it, as opposed to the more of the like, how do we fix it if it happens. But of course there's always going to be some chance that it could happen, which is of course what we don't want. But
All leagues are though, you know. Like it's not much different than like a fantasy league that you play in on like Yahoo or ESPN. Sometimes people try to collude, but usually if you have an active like team, like a active league, it's easy to prevent.
Yeah, I think the challenge that I mean, what's cool is like what we're doing in like effectively we're using the contracts to be the commissioner, right? Like the and making it more objective as opposed to subjective of like what a commissioner would change. But it's really like the contracts are the commissioners, and I personally think that's really cool and really exciting. But also, it it we're also kind of creating this mechanism or like a structure that uh, is just better and easier to scale too. So like that's kind of the other piece is like how do you really grow this and scale it in a way that is effective where you don't the user experience isn't lessened by having more and more people participating. I think the big piece for us that we are working on and like the dev teams are we're doing research into and exploring options. Um, it's I think fundamentally it's more of a nice to have than a need to have, but is like decentralized notification mechanisms. Whether it's like an EPNS, like so if there is a trade that needs like that goes through in your division. Um, that the division owners get some type of notification that there's a trade that they can review. The same thing goes for if someone proposes a trade with you, because we also don't. What we also have the challenge of is it's still fundamentally like a decentralized fantasy league. So it's not like we have everyone's email address and you just send like an email notification of like, oh, so and so proposed a trade with you. So we have to think of ways that we can like so that way what's going on because it's also not really realistic to expect people to just like check every day and to stay up to date. That's the I think the other challenge. So if anyone has any recommendations in terms of decentralized chat tools, send them our way because we are looking into this. I know of some like EnterDAO just deployed one on their app but it's on mainnet. I don't think the chat like the decentralized chat tool that Etherscan team built. I forgot what it's called. I don't think that operates on Polygon or like on any layer 2 for that matter. So I think long term we have started and are talking to Silo to see like if there's like a way that we can integrate Silo to do this to help with this component more of the like the social like communication layer. Um, which would be great. But that's not something that I foresee being in place by the time we start the Mega League. The challenge is that like Web 2 fantasy apps they have it, but it's really utilizing because it's just like a Web 2, right? And you have your user account and so that's tied to your email address, and so you can use their chat app that's tied to your user account. And there are options that exist. Like this isn't like something that people haven't built solutions for yet entirely. I think the only challenge that we have with the chat component is just what finding a tool that's operating on Polygon. If we were on ETH mainnet, we'd have more options. But I do agree, and how we've built out the UI, and you'll see it like as we continue to share the front end. Like there's a division kind of overview like dashboard page where you can see the standings and recent transactions and all this. And like there's also an RSS news feed of just like football news and player news. But then what we like it's a there's we could in the like UI component in the front end we can integrate some type of chat like message board as well. We just have to find the right tool to integrate.
I feel like something else though to consider is it's not like it's like desperate but it would be helpful. But I feel like our community at LeagueDAO is used to the Discord kind of, which is unlike also other fantasy apps where they just like don't they just like have to text each other or something. It's not like a curated community like we have. I feel like because we have this curated community on Discord, it gives people like still an option to communicate in an effective way even before this is released.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're not. That's why I say like it's not a like end all be all like must have, but I think it's something that would be nice. And I think where it helps the most would be like with trades. Like you, in my experience, like it's just like doing any deal, right? Like you have a much higher likelihood of success if you like reach out to the person that you want to do a trade with and talk to them and like come to a meeting of the minds of like what you're both willing to trade and looking for, as opposed to just like sending a cold trade submission, requests.
Yeah, totally.
Um, and because you can only trade within your division, that's where like Discord becomes a little bit more challenging. Like it's not like you go to a trading panel and you kind of just open it up and then anyone can respond and say they want to make a deal with you. So that's what we got to kind of figure out. And I would say the other side is, and I think this is probably more where EPNS comes in, is more of the notification layer. And that's separate from just like chatting and communicating, is getting notified when like there's a trade proposal or something like that. So that way you don't miss it.
One other thing I wanted to mention was that the Tyler Higbee giveaway is going to be ending today. So if you didn't enter and wanted to enter, I just linked it in the AMA questions chat. But yeah, we'll be picking a winner sometime this afternoon and announcing that,
Awesome.
which is a cool giveaway.
From my personal collection.
From Jake's personal collection. So I mean that's a good player for sure to have for player farming.
See how long. Hopefully, doesn't take him long, or he comes back at the beginning of the season from the torn ACL that kept him out of. I think it was an ACL that kept him out of the Super Bowl. But if he's healthy, he's a big part of that Rams offense. Sort of.
For sure.
Depends on their running.
The Rams are deep.
So all right, so let's and thanks for all the questions and the feedback on this. We've got let's just close out the call with with just some fantasy sports talk. And I've got a couple questions brought up that I wanted to bring up. Just a couple. Let's start with just like boomer bust, and anyone can weigh in either in the AMA questions or jump up and talk if they have strong opinions about it. But the first player, boomer bust, he showed some flashes last year because the Arizona Cardinals had a lot of injuries at wide receiver, and it opened up opportunities for him. But Christian Kirk, who is now on the Jaguars, is that right?
Didn't the Jaguars get a couple wide receivers this offseason other than just him? Like, what is there? Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, Lavika Chenault, Laquan Treadwell. It's just a bunch of people that their careers didn't pan out quite the way anyone expected, except Marvin Jones. And Zay Jones, it looks like I've heard reports in practice that he's been balling the fuck out. So I'd take him on a flyer, but like that whole team's so retooled that it's just kind of a gamble.
Yeah, I think it's probably. I mean, well, in hindsight, maybe not some, but like Arizona. I feel like with him, you saw him even late in the season with Arizona, like really establish himself as like the number 3, some like at times the number 2 receiver on that team. But that was more just probably just because of like who they had on the field, like and who was hurt. I think the real question would be if he can, if like because Jacksonville last year got to a point where they were really the only receiver they had was Laquan Treadwell, really. Like the only one who was actually getting the ball at any kind of like consistent rate. And I would say that Laquan, like Treadwell, is their number one. I guess Laviska Shenault was pretty good, but he was really hit or miss and would disappear a whole bunch. So I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call him Christian Kirk a boom or a bust. I think it is definitely a wait and see, and he could just be right in the middle. But it also depends if Trevor Lawrence like takes a step in the right direction as well, and like because and
Well, I
actually,
mean, he is a number 2, if not 3 receiver. So like kind of in the middle is just like, I mean, what's the best scenario you could hope for a wide receiver 2-3? Probably like an amazing season would be 1,200 or 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns, maybe like 70, 80 catches. Who's their tight end?
that's a good question. Who is their tight end? I feel like
And
no,
like
like
you'd have to assume that Travis Etienne would have some type of.
I mean, that should, if anything, if they actually have some type of running game this year, that'll like running will help them. I mean, so last year, Christian Kirk
I mean,
had
like as a
70
pass catcher.
receptions, 80 yards, and 4. Oh, that no, this is his projected. This is what they're projecting him to do. Um, 1 second.
The issue is if Travis Etienne's good, he's also going to catch passes, so that's going to snub it from
Yeah,
the receivers. So either like they're not gonna have a good running game, or they're like, I mean, I don't know, maybe one of those like
yeah.
rookies will pan out.
And so I am seeing like when I look at the projections, like Christian Kirk is projected as their number 1 receiver. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. He could
Well,
actually. It could be. He could be like a kind of under. If you can, like
if
if you can
anything,
pick
I'd
him up.
short him then, because like I
Yeah,
actually think Zay Jones is this. If he's being projected as the number 1, then Zay Jones is absolutely the boomer bust prospect.
yeah, true. Because either he like jumps up in terms of like their their board and like becomes like a regular contributor, or he just barely gets any opportunities. He's kind of that's like more of that like player that seems right on the cusp of relevance.
Yeah, I mean, he was good for a while, but then he like went crazy in the head. So like they're saying he's been working. I mean, I honestly don't like follow the Jaguars. I literally just like saw something on Twitter or some like beat writer. Maybe I like logged into Reddit because I follow them. And so yeah, my understanding is that he has been having like a pretty unbelievable like connection with Trevor Lawrence. And so, yeah, I mean, if the alpha here is, I mean, you always hear those in the off season, but if that turns out being true, I mean, let's put it this way: when Zay Jones was good in his career, he was better than Christian Kirk was when he was good in his career. Like the flashes have definitely been higher.
Yeah.
What do
All
you
right.
guys think about Justin Fields this next season?
I'm gonna let Voro answer that one. As the Chicago Bears fan amongst us.
You got any alpha on Justin Fields, Woro?
Our resident George Wendt. I don't think anybody knows who George Wendt is.
Because you reminded him that he's a Bears fan.
But All right, maybe we'll let you think up an answer, and then we'll come back to that. But I've got another just like comparison. Who do you guys think is going to get more rushing yards this season? And this is for the Seattle Seahawks. Is it Rashad Penny or Kenneth Walker? So Rashad Penny had his best year of his career last year. Really had some eye-opening games and got himself another contract. Kenneth Walker, the big rookie out of Michigan State, who I think a lot of people see as one of the rookie running backs that can have the biggest immediate impact.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm confused though. What about Chris Carson and DJ Dallas? They're not good. We don't like them
Carson
anymore.
was pretty bad last year. I mean, he also was hurt a bit, but Seattle's rushing game was a whole lot of nothing up until Rashad Penny started having some good games.
Okay. And then Kenneth Walker, they kind of brought in it looks like.
I mean, he's their rookie, their second round draft pick, the running back.
I'm slow. Okay. Yeah, this is an interesting one. I'm interested. It might be kind of like a where they allow everyone to have a chance.
Yeah, I have a feeling they want Kenneth Walker to become the main guy, but it'll be a bit of a toss up in the early on, and then it becomes if he can really separate himself as that number one running back. But you have to assume that they're going to favor him as the number two, their second round pick.
I think they'll probably will start off. I literally, when you look up Chris Carson, it says Pete Carroll hints the end may be near for Chris Carson. So yeah, that's not looking good for him. I think you're probably I think you're probably right. It'll be those two guys you said, competing for the position. I don't know why they don't like DJ Dallas though anymore. I felt like he had a couple good games. Maybe that's not right.
Yeah, he doesn't have that. He didn't. I mean, I think that people aren't really viewing him as one of their top guys, but that of course can change. With some opportunities. I mean, and I feel like running back also you need a deep running back group of running backs in the NFL because injuries and everything over the course of the season, you can't no team can rely on one running back.
Unless you're the Titans. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but look what happens when they rely on one guy.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, you do need the committee has definitely proven to be the most effective.
Yeah. All right, one last one. Not everyone's going to be able to draft one of the top 12 quarterbacks because that's what happens. So if you had to pick, would you take Chris Cousins or Matt Ryan?
Your question is Kirk Cousins or Matt Ryan?
Cousins, not Chris. Yeah.
God, this is a tough one because they're both I think I would honestly. Wait a minute. So Kirk Cousins has he still has just I have to relook at all the.
Kirk Cousins still has two of the best receivers in the league, so that that
I'm
kind of
thinking that might be why he has the edge because I feel like the Falcons don't really have a good wide receiver.
Remember, Matt Ryan is now with the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So he has Michael Pittman Jr. He might do good over there actually. And I feel like when a quarterback goes to a new team, they try to do good. So I think that if your options are risk it with Matt Ryan on the new team or go with Kirk Cousins, who sucks, you gotta go with Matt Ryan, as sad as that is.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be I think it's a tough one. I also the Indianapolis also has Jonathan Taylor. And I mean, but at the same time, the Vikings have Dalvin Cook. Um, so it's not like the running game is, they both have like an elite running game. Um, but I think you just have to give the upper hand to Cousins just because of like handicap the talent, like Adam Thielen and Jefferson, like those two receivers are gonna make like there are gonna be plays that they turn into like big plays that maybe on like even if Kirk Cousins makes a shitty throw, like like they'll turn bad plays into good plays just because they're so talented. I mean, I like Michael Pittman Jr. and I think he's gonna see a bump this year because he's gonna have a better quarterback throwing to him. And like it felt like last year there were a lot of plays where like he was open and just the ball wasn't just couldn't get to him. um, so
And there's a couple plays where he like just defeats the cornerback bad and just like takes it.
yeah,
But
so
yeah, I think that you're right though that one thing to consider about Cousins is last year aside from fantasy he did have a good season. Like when you look at his like overall stats on how he did, like he did one of the best out of any quarterbacks.
yeah. All right, so thanks for that. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I feel like inevitably someone's going to end up in that position, like week 7 of like, oh god, do I my number one quarterback has a bye? Do I try to pick up Cousins or Matt Ryan or what have you? So it's good stuff. I also think these are good. These are good questions for us to go through. Week by week, we're starting our fantasy football conditioning and starting to get ourselves in shape for the fall. So because it's hard to turn it back on and to like dive into the stats and the players. So appreciate everyone listening in, sticking around, participating in this. I we'll end this one with just a quick one. Maybe we'll put it as just like a poll in the Discord for people to weigh in on just over the next like day or so. But as I'm doing this, as I'm asking these like questions about stats, I'm pulling up fantasydata.com, which is what I've kind of used to do like research on stats and stuff. But I know there's a lot of other tools that people like. Something I've been thinking about is so fantasy data is like a subsidiary of sports data, and we have like they're one of our data providers, so we have a relationship with them. I was thinking about talking to them about getting some like discounted like football or license for users for the football season. So we're trying to work out some type of program like that for everyone. So everyone in LeagueDAO can get access to like next level fantasy stats if they want beyond what we have available to them in the actual fantasy app. So if there are other tools, other sites that you like to use, let us know, because I know, like I said, everyone has their preferences, and it'd be great to kind of do some research and kind of see, and I can then have some conversations with them and see if we can set up some deals for uh, Mega League team owners for the season, which would be fun.
Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, I think we can wrap it up.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining the call and everyone that listened in. Said a lot of exciting stuff happening with LeagueDAO. The wheels are moving. I can feel momentum starting to kind of slowly, steadily grow as we get closer and closer to the launch of the 2022 Mega League. So stick around and hang out in the Discord, ask questions, share your thoughts and ideas. We welcome it all.
Yeah, keep your eyes out for more details on the League Pass coming soon for sure. And yeah, we'll get that winner announced for the giveaway this afternoon. Alrighty. Catch you guys next week.